I'm very excited about this one. I'm actually going to be talking to my friend Tyler Griswold. It's not often we have a use case that has the word billion in it, but they've been doing some really, really exciting stuff over at Santander. Tyler is the founder of the AI lab there, and please welcome out Tyler Griswold. All right, Tyler, I just gave a kind of a 1-second overview, but why don't you tell everyone a little bit more about yourself and what you've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see everybody. We're going to try to make this brief. We know this is the last session in between us and you guys in happy hour.
And drinks, yeah.
And drinks, yeah. Who's excited for that? Woo! Woo! All right. No, it's great. So I'm here, I represent Santander, Banco Santander. We're part of the Global Financial Services Corporation, right? We're a GSIB bank, we're huge in the world. But we've been running a very incredible project for the last 2 years. It's called Openbank. We were able to take that Openbank, which is built on the concepts of open banking, be able to deploy all new front-end and back-end systems, really with CDP at the core of that, right? And so our proof point has really been in being able to launch Openbank nationally as a full new brand in October. Got to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. I didn't, but
someone did.
I watched Anna, our chairwoman, and it's really been great because it's called the kind of everything. It echoes all of the themes you guys have heard today, where data and Tealium and the power of real-time streaming, event-driven data on a platform supported and integrated with the full solution really can drive, empower the experience, the measurement, the insights, and really power the platform to great growth. And so it's exciting to be here to talk a little bit about that with you guys.
Amazing. And I'm really excited to get into the details of Openbank and how you solve for that. But I also know, we were talking backstage, you've been having a great experience here today, just at this conference. So what's your experience been like? Who have you met? What's that been?
Yeah, what's been amazing, I think I sat down at lunch, right, at a table, and we talk about, all these different use cases and solutions across groups. And I was at a table, and there was a Christian radio network, a GSIB bank, a e-commerce company built from a mom and pop shoe company that sold shoes to loggers in Wisconsin, and an insurance tech, right? Like all of those companies, like what possibly could we have all in common? But really, the challenges that we're all trying to solve in the digital space of being a digital business, right? And being able to prove that out, it's all the same. And so, the challenges that we face and what we built Openbank for is the same challenges that the Christian Radio Network is facing, that the MLB is facing with the Atlanta Braves, which we're all facing with the advent of AI. But it was really amazing to kind of sit at a table that you would never think in your life that those different companies or different folks would have that kind of commonality around this core project here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a classic joke. A global bank, a Christian radio, walk into a bar.
Walk into a Tealium bar.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Tealium conference.
No, yeah, it's so great. This really is a unique conference for that, in the diversity of background and experience that's present, but then the uniformity of challenge that we're trying to solve, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that in mind, what was the challenge Santander was looking at when they decided to pursue this open bank and really have a data-centric and digital-centric brand?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is unique to financial services, but we're facing a lot of headwinds in the industry, right? We had fintechs come in to disrupt. We have, ever-growing regulatory pressure. They talked a little bit about fraud earlier. There's whole nation states like trying to defraud, like U.S. banking institutions, right? And really, the core of it though is kind of being able to deliver on a strategy that's future-proof when you're thinking about your digital strategy. And Openbank for us was, in open banking, to us, seems like that strategy and that solution that allows us not only to just launch a really great mobile experience, right? Launch new financial products that meet customers' needs and have great experiences, but it allows us to be operating in an architecture, an ecosystem with extensible parts that allow us to be able to incorporate AI when we're ready, right? To allow us to leverage APIs and open source to allow us to be able to deliver the banking experience of the future. And that's really exciting. So I think the prime example of open banking is Clio, which is an AI agent that delivers financial advice and can synthesize your data that you consent to share with the platform. Having that at the front of the front end experience, right, is a lot of what we've talked about with AI and some of the solutions that we've seen here around how do we get the LLMs working, how do we deliver on that with our customers, and making sure that you have that can be at the forefront, that the customer consents into that data sharing, is the architecture that which we strive for on Openbank, right? And so if you don't have leaders at your organization that aren't thinking about where you guys should be in 40 years, and trying to answer that question of what's the Christian radio network of 20 years from now, or what's it called? For us, it's how are people going to bank in 40 years, right? And I think if you look back 40 years or 50 years, we're living the proof points of that then, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were in the 50s post-war with the advent of the ATM, the key question was, how is banking going to be 40 years in the future? Well, we're going to exchange money electronically, right? And I think we live that reality now. But it was radical. I think Citi put in an ATM in the middle of Midtown or Upper East Side, and people hated it. They couldn't figure out how to get money out of it. Mm-hmm. But now you look at how ubiquitous ATMs are. You look at the introduction of mobile, 15, 20 years ago. Those things now are the way that we bank, right? With Venmo, blockchain, fintech disruption. I said the pace of, innovation is coming quicker and quicker and quicker. But you really need to be having that at the forefront of the digital strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to be starting with that in mind. Yeah. It's funny you bring up the ATM. This is a bit of a tangent, but it reminds me of a lot of what we've been talking about today, of that complement of the CDW and then the real-time activation engine, and the difference between a brick and mortar branch and the ATM. The ATM's not going to be where you go and process a mortgage loan, but it just needs that real-time touch of that person of what's your current bank account? Are you who you say you are? Okay, now I can transact with you, versus the CDW or the banking location that really needs to have all of that information and more of that customer to process those bigger decisions and send those out to the distributed ATM network.
Yeah.
But not what we're talking about here. With that in mind, you already started describing it, but what were some of the key decision points for that solution that you ended up putting up for Openbank of having a data-centric approach that was both able to be innovative and be modular based on the trends that you were seeing, but still secure from those attacks and compliant for the customer's preferences? What did the solution look like?
Yeah, so that's where the compromises come in, and it's a little bit more about the way that you develop the work. Mm-hmm. And what's really amazing about the journey that we've been on is it's really CDP without borders. Our development teams are in Spain, we have server farms in Mexico, and trying to deliver on a banking application in the United States that can fit within those constraints of our regulatory environment, satisfy the regulators, allow us to open accounts, allow us to process accounts, allow us to hold customer funds. Came with a whole level of complexity. But what was great is that if at the core of that was the real-time event-driven pub-sub data, right? Where you've got your systems listening, you've got the drip of the data coming in real time, you're able to action that data and create actions for your customers. That was the rails, right? And those were the requirements. It also had to speak to our system of record, which is our, Fort
totally
Knox.
Modern, right? And very accessible. Easily.
Mainframe in the cloud, which for whatever reason we'll never move away from, because you need, for the regulators and for yourselves and that security, you need the laser ability to be able to see where people's money is at any given point in time, right? 24/7. And there's very few solutions that can actually solve that. Don't need to reinvent that, right? It's already, it's got the rubber stamp, but you need to be able to expose that through APIs, right, into your banking ecosystem and your digital ecosystem as well too. So it creates a complex network then between transactional data, online data, offline data, right, at our ATMs and the other solutions out there that we have that are more traditional banking to satisfy customers. But then you're into the omni-channel, and it's great. But the core of that was making sure that the customer data, that the event-driven data was at the very center of that data strategy and that data model as well too.
Yeah, and so the big question, did it work? What were the results of pursuing this model and trying to solve those challenges in this way?
Yeah, so we knew we could deliver a channel, right? We knew we'd been doing mobile banking for a long time, and we've been onboarding customers in digital. But could we do it quickly? And could we do it on these new rails? So the proof point there was we had to keep our chairwoman wanted to keep our onboarding funnel times below 3 minutes. So if you can think of any digital experience for opening up, a financial product that's under, 10 minutes even, right, is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Right now our average is 5. So again, with that streaming data and with, Tealium and the tools that we have, we're able to deliver on those experiences that are convenient, secure, and quick. And that's really, really paid off in the growth we've seen on the platform. So we had put out into our financial models that we wanted to hit $1 billion in 6 months. If we got to $1 billion in 6 months, we could probably do some marketing. It was kind of like the tagline from finance, like, let's test this out. We don't know what this is really going to do in the US markets. We're dropping a whole new brand. We're going into national markets we've never been before without a ton of marketing spend. I mean, you look at Capital One's budget, it's like in hundreds of millions of dollars, like what they're dropping on marketing, and we got, nothing.
Yeah.
But within 3 months, we were able to get to $3 billion, right?
$3 billion with minimal marketing investment.
Minimal marketing, and we're
just because the experience was catered around.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got into aggregators. Exactly, right? We were like, okay, well, in a month we got to $1 billion. Let's go to the aggregators. What can we really get? And what can we really do with this platform? So we have a very exciting product roadmap. Built on personalization, built on leveraging our first-party data to have our ML insights feeding in and providing prescriptive experiences for customers, personalized pricing, offers. All of that is on the table as table stakes now, and we're really excited about what we can do in 2025.
That's so exciting. And for me, when I'm evaluating a project, one of the analogies I like to use when we're looking at what it's going to take to do this sort of digital transformation, it reminds me of like building a sports stadium in a city. Raw subject for San Diego, I know. But so you got, when you want to go to propose that, the neighbors, they might start off as like detractors, and you might just need to get them to buy in or be okay with it. But ideally, your neighbors would actually be fans, and they'd want to be going to the games and buying your tickets. And really, the ultimate goal, this is where the analogy breaks down a little bit, is that they'd want to be players. They would want to be active on the game. And so the way this rolls out is these projects take a ton of organizational buy-in. There's going to be disruptive to your organizational neighbors. And you can maybe like buy off your neighbors, and they'd be like begrudgingly, okay, you can do this project. Or ideally, they'd be like, yeah, I'm really excited for you to go do this project, but what we really want is for them to be invested and bought into, I want to be a part of this project with you and what you're building. So with your organization, how did you get the organizational buy-in? Who were the people and the organizations that you needed to get this launched, and how did you make sure that they were all on board?
Ooh, that's I was following the analogy for a second, but no, I gotcha. The organizational part of it is complex. It's difficult, especially a legacy organization like ours that's kind of distributed and fractured across different countries and different time zones. But it took a couple things. Back to that leadership. Like again, you need leaders that are gonna have that vision for you and tell you, you throw the ball over the fence, and the other team says, how high do you want us to jump or catch it, that kind of stuff. And so for us, though, there was a lot of friction at first in getting into just working rhythms that were productive, that were, aligned, that were, prioritized around those goals, around that vision. And it got so bad at one point that like the Spanish teams and us, like we weren't seeing eye to eye, and they were running with requirements, and we would be like, well, where's the documentation? And they're like, oh, it's in Zeppelin, and we look in there, it's in Spanish, and it's only in comments, and we're like, well, this isn't the US, this isn't how we work on IT or have requirements and do things. And finally, our leaders just said, go sit with these people for a week, right? Mm-hmm. And we're like, what are we gonna watch them type? Like, but it was like the idea that we actually had to like physically get in the same space, talk through what it is that the objectives were, what they were gonna work on, doing the roles and responsibilities. And at the end of it, we came out into a place that's really great. We're on these global calls with 260 people, That's how big the development team is for this project. So, just imagine that nightmare of just trying to orchestrate, teams of that size and that caliber on a global scale. But it all comes back to having that really clear vision that the organization buys in on, right? So if you guys don't have leaders who are pressing a vision, get vocal. Maybe part of the strategies that you see here can be part of that, that strategy as well too. If leaders don't have the back, acumen or don't have the digital experience yet and are looking to transition to that space as well too.
Yeah, I love that. The top down, getting the executive buy-in, the leadership buy-in and vision casting so that you have those opportunities to actually meld with the diverse parts of the org. And then if you're not getting that from the top, that's your responsibility to go kind of manage up and get that buy-in, right? Well, I think the other thing was kind of a unique opportunity for you is you were coming from a place of stability and established control, but also getting to start somewhat fresh, right? And for a lot of you in this room, you're not going to be able to go stand up a new brand and start it with the foundation that you want. You have to incorporate your current environment, your legacy systems and processes, but it's still a transformation that we need to do. So what would your encouragement be for where to start? What would be the first priority to go and do if someone listening in this room wanted to go through a similar transformation and become a digital first, data first company like Openbank?
Yeah, have the mindset of the startup, right? And that's how we kind of operated, was we spun the group into its own kind of entity that was responsible as a vertical unto itself, allowed a lot more flexibility to operate than probably we would give other projects, in the US. And it was really that ability to move quickly, to not live in, the historicals or the actuals, or the reality is to dream big, put this goal out there, build towards it, and do it quicker than you've ever done because we have to have it in market by X, Y, and Z. And be able to really, again, what was it? Something not perfection, right?
Yeah,
progress, not perfection. The startup mindset is that, right? As you solve your problem in whatever space that you're in, it's,
iterate,
get something to market. It might not be perfect, right? And that was, there's trade-off decisions that happen all along that path. And it's really having to make hard choices on what we kick out, a couple PIs for planning that we're not going to be able to do it all now. But these are the things that we know are going to be great. And one of those was, again, just chasing what we wanted the experience to be, which was, 5 minutes or less, 3 minutes or less, as fast and as secure as possible, and being able to deliver on that as well, too.
Awesome. And I know from talking with you that one thing you've done a really great job at is being able to attribute the success of the data orchestration and flow towards the actual ROI and the financial impact of the business. So what's your breakdown of how do you actually measure the success of being able to say, yes, because we went with this data first real time approach, we were able to make an impact versus, we had a really good website or, these other more tangible channels that would maybe take credit for that financial impact?
Yeah, well, we knew how we were doing it wrong in the other channel. So like when you go live with the Cappy for the first time on the new Rails, it was really easy to see the incremental, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And we had optimized ad spend. I mean, we had, our Cappy lift, for the first month or so, it was like 42%, right? So you kind of play out these, the success points through the technology. But it's all about your incrementality, right? And having solid frameworks on measurement to make sure that you've got a baseline that you're comparing to, that incrementally what the spend is going to deliver on. And that can get kind of amorphous on, say, like the data CDP side, where on the bigger parts of it, but it can get really powerful on the machine learning when you're able to feed those insights in, having good incrementality, understanding causal inference, understanding the ways to measure, these different program launches or releases in ways that are comparable, the pre-post. It's like really working with your quants, right? Your data science team and your analytics folks to have that, at the forefront of each project as well too, so that you're ready to tell the story and not be waiting for a year to say, all right, we did this, And we've got it live now, but what and like, and
why was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, totally makes sense. Okay, well, we're coming up right on time. So I think the last question really here is what's next, in this increment? Where do you see Openbank going and this technology going that you're excited about?
Yeah, so there's like the few things I mentioned, right? So open banking, again, gives us the ability to go customer facing with AI. I'm most excited about that, hence I'm the founder of the AI Lab. We've been working those projects off the side of our desk for years, right? On, either recommendation frameworks or, leveraging LLMs for data classification, for data labeling. So being able to pull those into market and deliver to customers an experience that bridges the gap between their data, our data, and the experience is going to be really exciting. But to do that in a way that's going to continue to encourage trust with our customers or promote trust and security around that. Again, the open banking framework with having consent up front on who they're sharing data with and being able to control exactly how they want to feed data into an AI system or an agentic experience as well too.
Yeah.
To me, that's really experience. Like, I got to sell that to the bosses always, right? Yeah. But we have the rails to do it, and we have the data and strategy that can feed those use cases. And then it's all about scale, new products, new experiences, new customers that we've never been able to access before. So we had never been a growth company or growth mindset company before until we've gone through this transformation. And what I think is also amazing, like it was kind of philosophically, I've talked to a few people about this, is like what comes after the digital transformation? All of a sudden you're a digital business, right? And that's a really different mindset of a company. And Tealium's got all the right tools, I'll give the plug, to do it, right? And probably we wouldn't have been able to do it without, again, the support from you guys and being able to have the, that CDP and the customer data at the core of that project as well too.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you, Tyler. Really enjoyed our time together.